Good morning. It's Wednesday, the 6th of January. Have you taken down the cards and packed away the Christmas decorations? I expect most people will have by now, and many will be trying to get back to their usual working life. Not an easy task at the moment. I read of a Dales village that had decided to keep their Christmas lights switched on for the next few weeks, as where there is light, there is hope. Which brings us rather nicely to today. Perhaps you should get out the decorations again, as today is Epiphany, and Christians across Eastern Europe will be celebrating, and in many Latin countries there will be processions to remember the visit of the kings, following the light to see the baby. In some countries it's known as Three Kings Day. Now, we could have a discussion about whether they were kings or wise men, or if there were three or more, and even if they were all men. It could not have been that clever, as they did not at first find the place where the baby had been born. However, what is significant is that the baby was shown to foreigners from other lands, possibly from what we know as in Iran or Iraq or Saudi Arabia, or even today's trouble-torn Yemen. What matters is not the exact location of their homes, but the fact that they were not Jews and that they were foreign. The baby had been sent for all people, regardless of origin, race, wealth, position, or intellectual ability. I don't think the Bible relates that the visitors were turned away or not made welcome. Some members of our own congregation at St Andrews have shown us how important it is to welcome strangers amongst us. Our health service and caring sector and transport companies have a large number of foreign workers on whom we depend and need to value and welcome. So when you go for your COVID jab or visit your doctor for another reason, have a look at the people helping you. There is a high probability that they will not be British. They have brought their gifts of knowledge and compassion to help our country. I wonder if they always feel welcome and valued, or do they wish to return home? A second aspect of this story of the kings is also important today. After worshipping this new baby, they left to return home. And as a result, we are told, Herod demanded the killing of all the baby boys aged 2 years and under. Now again, there is no evidence that this did actually take place, even though there is a lot of other written evidence about Herod. Professor Paul Mayer has claimed that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence, and he goes on to express his belief in the slaughter, although he's cautious about the number of babies that were killed. Based on what we know about the character of Herod, he seems able to have ordered such a thing. The deaths of babies would not have been great news in those days, as infant mortality was high, but the manner of their deaths would have been outrageous and still horrifies us today. Sadly, there is still too little concern for babies and children across the planet. Although infant mortality rates are probably at their lowest in a global sense, many babies still die. A report from the United Nations calculated that in 2016, at least 7,000 babies died in the first 28 days of life. Regularly, children are dying in refugee camps because governments argue over which country should look after them. In the Al-Hol camp, the largest camp in northeast Syria, it's estimated that there are 40,000 children housed in horrendous conditions and lacking medical care. And that is just one camp. Some of the children attempting to flee the Middle East and find safety in European countries are not only homeless, but orphans. If I had been reflecting on this a few years ago, I'd probably simply have used those examples. But now it's embarrassing to say that as a nation we have a growing problem of looking after our children and young people. You simply have to look at the work of the Salvation Army, Action for Children, the Children's Society, and numerous other charities. We should not be relying on charities to put right the wrongs of our decisions. We have a collective responsibility to fight inequality and injustice, and as Christians we should be demanding improvements and showing the love and compassion for children and strangers that Jesus showed. The gap between the wealthy and the poor has grown alarmingly. The learning gap between children is unacceptable. Figures reveal the gap in England between some pupils and their wealthier peers widened by 46% in the last school year. I know it was severely disrupted by the coronavirus lockdown, but we cannot blame the virus for this, as it's simply drawn attention to the disparities in our own country. Some people have tried to argue that we should end foreign aid and use it on our own country. This is not a tenable position, as the figures show, and certainly I hope not a Christian response. We can and should be doing everything we can to help all children wherever they are. The coming of the kings, or wise men, should remind us forcibly that the baby that we've just celebrated did not come to one group of people, but for all humanity. We need to stop harassing people of difference and become a nation that welcomes others, that has a zero tolerance of division, and that uses our wealth. After all, we are told that we are the 6th wealthiest country in the world, to care for and encourage children wherever they are. Some words from the Iona community. Let's pray. May the peace of the Epiphany God, the joyful peace of finding, the enlightening peace of seeing, the challenging peace of understanding, the radical peace of following a different route, energize and encourage you as you travel onwards. Let me wish you a happy second Christmas, or perhaps more appropriately, an enjoyable Epiphany, and health and happiness throughout 2021.